Dragon Ballers, real quick before we get into today's video, just want to share something with you guys that I am very excited about. PPG is going to be hosting the Pro Support TCG weekend in Dallas, Texas, the weekend of November 6th. It's going to be a giant TCG convention weekend hosting all your favorite games, obviously Dragon Ball Super, Digimon, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, and more. Tournaments for all those. I'm actually going to be there commentating the Dragon Ball Super side of things, the main event on Saturday, the side events on Sunday. I absolutely cannot wait. And if you guys missed out on Gen Con or heard me talk about how much fun that was, you're 110% going to want to be at the Pro Support TCG weekend. The other great thing too is it's just 2 weeks before Nationals, the biggest Dragon Ball Super tournament of the year, so you can get some invaluable practice there. But besides that, it's a convention. It's going to be so much fun, especially for those of you guys like me that just absolutely love trading card games. Definitely check it out. The link to sign up will be in the description. I really hope to see you guys there. Now let's get into the video. Yo, Dragon Ballers, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about the multicolor cards in set 15 because a lot of them are really strong, which is a pretty cool thing because most of the Unison Warrior block has been used to push monocolor decks. So the fact that we're getting a lot of really strong multicolor support for some archetypes that you wouldn't expect to be super strong is a pretty cool thing to talk about. And we know we're getting the ban list tomorrow, so of course tune back into the channel tomorrow to see what the new ban list is all about. But depending on how the ban list operates, a lot of these strategies could actually do really well in the meta, in my opinion, and I will be sure to point those out in the video. But if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways to do so down in the description. But if you guys want to be updated on all the competitive content, be sure to check out the Patreon down in the description. I'll be posting a lot of deck lists once the ban list is dropped, so we kind of know how the meta is going to go moving forward. So yeah, make sure to tune into that. We'll get into the video. Alright, so the first card I want to talk about is Baby Janemba, Malefic Agent of Destruction. So at first glance, I didn't realize this card was actually an Agent of Destruction, even though it's right in the card name, because we haven't seen a Baby Janemba outside of just like red, yellow, baby stuff, right? But anyways, this is a 3-drop 20k energy exhaust blocker, offering limit 1, which is an interesting restriction they needed to put there. Permanent if your opponent has 5 or more cards in rest mode, negate this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. So several things about this card, right? So it is a 3-drop red yellow, but in the actual Agent of Destruction deck, assuming you're playing the Boo leader, its specified cost is ignored, so it's basically a 3-drop colorless card. And as long as you have the 1-drop Bobbity on the field, it's going to be a 2-drop. So a 2-drop 20k blocker, pretty good in my opinion, just to get that offering off. Like, it's kind of like a Saiyan Instincts for the archetype, which is really cool. And it has the possibility to negate energy exhaust. Now, you don't necessarily have to be playing a yellow deck to make that resolve, because, you know, Basil, the reason people play Basil Fatal Rampage is just for like when it just so happens that your opponent has 5 cards tapped, which as the game goes on, your opponent has more energy, uses more energy, and plays more battle cards, they're going to have cards in rest mode. So that's just like an added benefit. It doesn't really it's not really a necessity for the deck, like getting a red yellow charged, but if it just so happens that in that point of the game your opponent has 5 cards tapped and you have too many of these guys clunking your hand, you can just throw one down in your energy, and it can be a pretty flexible energy. Let's say you wanted to tech Topo and Nimbus in your deck, this card can serve as the energy for both. And since you are basically playing a rainbow color deck, that is feasible. So overall, just a really cool card. Agent of Destruction actually did top an event online recently. Shout out to my teammate Anthony, who topped with that deck. So it's a cool deck to mess around with. Maybe one of the decent aggro decks in a format where aggro is not really all that amazing. Moving along though, one of my favorite cards from the multicolor support is SSB Vegito Blue Omen. So it's a 2-drop 16k with blocker. Auto limit 1, pay a yellow. If the front of your leader card is a blue Son Goku and Vegeta, and you have 2 or less energy when this card in your hand is played or placed in your energy, place top card of your deck in your energy, and then your opponent chooses up to 1 card in their hand and places it in their energy. So basically, if you're playing the set 7 leader this was meant to be used with, I think there's even one more Goku Vegeta leader you could possibly use this with. But yeah, if you're using either of those leaders, you get to ramp an energy, which is kind of cool, but your opponent can also ramp. Yes, they take a -1 from hand, but that actually seems really rough against like a blue matchup, for example, right? Let's say they're on turn 2, you let them ramp to 3, the next turn they're on 4, they could play Boo Unison. That's a little scary, but the activate main I actually really like, and it doesn't require you to play any of those Goku Vegeta leaders. So activate main, pay 3. If your leader card's a Vegito card, choose up to 1 blue yellow multicolored Vegito card, with the original energy cost of 8 in your hand and play it on top of this card. So not only does that play the blue-yellow Vegito secret rare, but it also plays Meteoric Energy Vegito. And that's one thing we're getting a lot of in this tournament pack, it seems, just ways to cheat out underutilized boss monsters, which I think is really cool. So this guy, you can inventory him for 4 normally, so being able to cheat him out on 3 with Blue Omen is pretty cool. He's got Barrier, which is nice. That protects him from like Zamasu the Eliminator tapping him, for example. Auto when this card attacks, if your opponent has 3 or more energy, choose up to 3 blue or yellow battle cards in your energy and combo with them. Then auto when you combo with a battle card using this card's skill and your leader card is blue. If you have 3 or more battle cards in your combo area, choose all of your opponent's battle cards in energy, switch them to rest mode, and then those cards can't be switched to active mode during your opponent's next charge phase. So I really like this for many reasons. I think that, you know, obviously games are going very long right now, so having a boss monster that helps ensure the game is really good. Yes, his effect is very powerful, but even though he can be played on 4 and had pretty decent protection, this card was never super viable. So it's actually a pretty cool experiment to see that if, you know, through another card, if this thing can be cheated out for 3, can it be more viable? It's going to be pretty interesting, and this is one of those strategies that I do think if the ban list falls a certain way, I think this could actually be really solid, because this type of boss monster, in my opinion, seems very strong. Let's also not forget the trunks that can be summoned off of comboing it from the energy with Meteoric Energy Vegito, as well as, you know, the many Bojack cards like Zangia, for example. You can combo that and draw a card. I believe it would work correctly that way. So very cool thing to explore. I like it a lot. Then we have some new Universe 6 cards. So we have Super Saiyan Goku and Hit Temporary Truce, or I guess our U7 and U6 cards. So Goku Hit is an energy exhaust critical Aegis blue-yellow once per turn. So interestingly here, there's no way to cheat this card out. You'd basically have to cast it for 3 if I'm recalling this correctly. And maybe there's some sort of card that cheats out 3 cost U6s. I think maybe the Hit Leader does it, but outside of that, I don't think there's many other ways to do it. So I don't think the Aegis is going to be very important in this card, but if there's a blue-yellow multicolor in your energy, reduce the combo cost of this card in your hand by 1. I really don't know why they felt the need to print this card, because we already have Hit Rapid Movement. Maybe they just wanted a non-SR budget version for players, which is kind of cool. That's a fair reason to print this card, I guess. But what really needs this is red yellow. Red yellow really needs a free combo card, so just putting that out there into the Universe Bandai. Anyways, Vegeta Kaba, lessons learned: 4-drop 19k energy exhaust dual attack, arrival blue yellow for a blue or a yellow. So that flexibility is really nice, because if you're playing a blue yellow deck with a yellow leader, odds are you're charging mostly yellows, and then vice versa for a blue leader, right? You're charging mostly blues. So having the flexibility of being able to arrive this for whatever color is more convenient for you is pretty nice. When this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, one energy cost of 4 or less in rest mode, and place it at the bottom of the owner's deck. So an arrival with removal for small guys that also has dual attack, not bad at all. Really solid. Then we have SS2 Kefla Lightning Speed, probably the best multicolor card in the whole set. So it's an 8-drop 30k, energy exhaust, double strike blocker, arrival for blue yellow for 2 blues and a yellow. When this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and place it at the bottom of the owner's deck. So 3 energy, get rid of anything during battle. So this really is like the old school Shugesh Kid Goku combo. Obviously it costs some more energy and also requires you to combo a blue yellow card, but still incredibly strong. Activate main limit 1. If your opponent has 3 or more energy and you choose a card in your hand and discard it, this card gains dual attack for the turn. If the card you discarded with this skill is a copy of this card, draw 2 cards, then choose one of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode. So pitch another copy of this, you draw 2, you could possibly tap into energy and then gain dual attack, which obviously synergizes very well with Senzu Bean. This card, my opinion, and I think most people's opinion honestly, is absolutely ridiculously good. Man, I'm excited to play with this card because you guys know how much I like blue yellow. Although odds are tomorrow they're probably going to nerf blue yellow, probably banning Bojack, maybe addressing Zamasu the Eliminator, but this is still a really good card to make you want to play blue yellow in my opinion. Then we have King Vegeta Great Apes Rule. So 4-drop 20k, energy exhaust blocker, arrival red green for a green, auto for a red. When this card's played, your opponent may choose 2 cards in their hand and discard them. If they don't, choose one card in your opponent's battle area and place it in the owner's drop area. If your opponent chooses not to pay the 2 cards, you do get to pop anything. Unlike Kefla though, it doesn't ignore barrier, but still that during battle removal of any battle card in the game short of barrier is kind of nice. Auto at the end of your turn, choose all grave cards in your battle area and switch them to active mode. Not bad. So a built-in Planet Vegeta effect where you can restand all your apes. A lot of the times these apes have blockers, so restanding them is actually pretty solid value there. Then we have Vegeta Omnipotent Elite. We have a 2-drop 16k unique dual attack, blocker, permanent. If your opponent has 5 or fewer cards in their hand, negate this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. Just side note here, this kind of seems like it can open up the avenue for a maybe tricolor hand control deck, because this can come down as a free red-green energy if your opponent's low on hand size, so that's pretty interesting. Auto, when this card's played, draw 1. Auto once per turn if your leader is green at the end of the turn, or when you activate this card's blocker skill, switch this card to active mode. So we all know how powerful Goku Hit can be in the right format. Just being able to block 2 15k attacks for basically nothing. This card offers a very, very similar thing, although you do have to pay 2 for it, but you do get to draw a card when it's played. So seems pretty solid in my opinion for that. So you do get the full 2 attacks out of it, and then you get to restand it and then block and restand it again. So even more value than Goku Hit if you actually think about the energy paid. It's just maybe theoretically in a worse color combination, but I think red green has some interesting potential going into this next format with a lot of cards, and maybe I'll bring you guys a build sooner rather than later. But anyways, Great Ape Raditz Might Unleashed. We have a 4-drop 19k energy exhaust dual attack blocker. Auto limit 1 for a red or a green, and one of your red or green non-Great Ape Raditz cards with blocker is removed from battle area by an opponent's skill. You may play this card from your hand. Auto, when this card attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost greater than the number of cards in their hand and KO it. Auto, pay a green and a red if a field extra card is in a battle area. Play this card from your hand. So there's no shortage of ways to cheat this card out. Obviously, it has 2 of its own effects that do it, but you can also potentially play this card off the new Powerball for the new Vegeta archetype. We haven't done a video covering that entire archetype, but that is another way to cheat this thing out. So overall, I mean, I think this card's okay. I think that whole archetype's going to suffer very heavily due to the fact that the Vegeta leader seems so weak. Like, you know, leaders in the past that haven't drawn cards have done okay, but that leader is like a whole nother level of gimmicky. It's really, really rough looking, but this is a card that can cheat itself out in a plethora of ways that doesn't necessarily require you to be playing that whole Vegeta archetype, right? Then we have SS Broly Annihilation Personified, 4-drop 19k energy exhaust, arrival for a red or a green. Auto, if your opponent has 3 or more energy, when this card's played from your deck, it gets 6,000 power and double strike for the turn. So the way you'd play it from your deck, I believe, is through the Dormant Legend Field card. I think that'll be pretty much the only way to do it, if not mistaken. Or maybe even the 1-drop Broly from this set actually does it as well if you have Dormant in your drop area. I believe those are the 2 ways to do it. Auto, when this card attacks, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. So pretty solid value. Maybe a decent reason to run the new red Broly leader as red-green instead of just mono-red, but I think between all the extra cards you have to play and then running multicolor cards on top of that with a non-blue strategy, I think that could lead to a lot of clunk. But I mean, you know, I guess time will tell how people decide to top and play with the deck. Then the final card, Destined Confrontation, probably the most interesting card in this whole thing. Not the best by any means, but interesting at least. 2-drop counter attack. You and your opponent each flip 1 life card face up. If your card has greater power than your opponent's card, choose a card in your opponent's hand and one of their battle cards and place them in their owner's drop areas. Flip any cards flipped face up by the skill face down. Then cards without power have a power of 0. So again, interesting. I don't think this will ever see competitive play just because it's super gimmicky once again, but still an interesting card to talk about nonetheless. But guys, one more set of cards I want to talk about. We have the Turles cards. I did briefly mention these in the actual Turles video covering that archetype, but I think these cards are very powerful. So obviously, Raising Lakesai is an in-archetype Cold Bloodlust for the deck. It does cost 2 in a green-yellow deck. That can be expensive, but still very, very powerful. And then these cards are actually free combos with the green Turles leader thanks to the Tree of Might extra card. So I think there might be some really strong potential for green-yellow Turles. I think that actually is a really cool thing. I think they would have to address blue and blue-yellow in some way, because like multicolor that doesn't include blue is very, very tough to justify because your actions per turn are so limited compared to what blue and blue-yellow can do. So that would have to be a thing, but I do think there's some pretty cool potential with that stuff with these cards. But anyways, guys, I do want to know what you guys think in the comments. I think many of these multicolor cards are very, very good, or if not good, at least interesting. But anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the ban list video. Till then.